guy.
Yo, and welcome back to another LBB. I got my little black book back, yo. I'm back in the business. I'm back with my little black book. I'm back in the business. I'm back with my little black book. Does God choose our partners? Now, I was wrestling with this particular thing, right, for a little while, and I was trying to answer this question, like, does God actually choose our partners? And the first thing I had to do was qualify exactly God's nature. And when I looked at God's nature, I was looking at it thinking, okay, let me state my personal opinion, because this is a belief that I hold. According to scriptures, according to scriptures, of course, but it's my personal opinion. So don't let this be your kind of truth just because I've said it or someone said it. Find out for what you believe for yourself, because the Bible doesn't say explicitly. Do you get what I'm saying? So what I would say is this: for my personal belief, I believe that God doesn't choose our partners, and what I mean by that is that I'm not saying He doesn't have an influence. I'm saying He doesn't choose our partners. Why I say this, because the very first point that you have to look at is that God's nature is to give man choice. Why? Because love is free will, and free will cannot exist. Well, love cannot exist without free will, okay? And it cannot exist without choice. If it's not love, if it's not free will, it's not choice, it's not love. If you look at what God has done for us in terms of choosing us as the bride, He chose us. He decided there was an action, because love is choice, decision, and action. And so without that free will, it's not love. Do you get what I'm saying? So for God then to force somebody to love somebody, it's not in His nature for me. Okay, and when you look at it, you have to look at it as in the Garden of Eden, right? Why is it that God put a tree of knowledge and evil and then put a tree of life? Choice. You see, God does not give love without choice. And so He made us in His what? After His likeness and in His image. And so therefore we have the ability to choose because of free will. Now, if you look at Adam and Eve, you're probably screaming out, well, God made Adam and Eve. Okay, yeah, He made Adam, then He made Eve. But hold on, He was making a perfect helper for what thing? So they could tend to the garden, so they could be perfection. Okay, and you have to look at the state of man in that particular response. Let's say God did make Eve for Adam. Cool, I'll go along with that. But in the garden, we were perfect. We were in total obedience to God. We were in sync with God. We were in the spirit with God. And so therefore, anything God proposed, we had no problem being able to do it. And for we were what? Spiritual creatures at that point. But now we're not in the Garden of Eden, because now we have a corruptible flesh. Again, I'll ask the question, why is it that God allowed Satan to come into the garden? Forget about him being created. Why is it that God allowed His creation to be tempted by Satan? Choice. Mankind had the ability to choose. Adam had the ability to choose. And even when Eve was created, God never said, Adam, call her Eve, call her your wife. But He had given man wisdom to be able to what? Discern and to say, this is my bone of my bone, the flesh of my flesh. God never told Adam what to say. Adam woke up, was like, rah, let me call you Eve. Boom. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He decided. And so love requires choice, decision, and action, and requires a free will to love. Okay? So when I look at God's nature, I look at that particular part of God. He does not force anything. He doesn't even force salvation. So why is He forcing a partner onto me? Okay, so we're still in the Garden of Eden, right? And God has created Eve. Now, like I said, God never forced Adam to take on Eve. But look here what happened. The moment they sinned, Adam fully said, God, listen, yeah? It's the woman that you gave me. The woman that you gave me. He had the opportunity to blame God because God had placed this woman here. But again, God never said call her your wife, but He chose to do that. But God placed him in there. So now we're outside the Garden of Eden, where perfection, we're not in perfection, okay? We have a corruptible body, which the flesh has its own will and our spirit has its own will. And now God can present something, but you again have to choose. I never said God was not influenced in helping you choose a partner, but what I'm saying is this: He never decided you must choose that one, because then that goes to soulmates. That goes to then the only one person you should be with, and there's a problem with that. If God has decided that that one person you should be with, and you don't make it to be that person, because let me tell you this now, God has also decided that people have to take some certain roads, and He works it out for our good. That means that we can take some certain roads, and it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out in the way we want it to work out, but God always turns it for our good. I'm in firm belief that God didn't choose your partner. He kind of guided you towards somewhere, and you got to choose. For instance, a lot of people will say, especially as Christians, oh, God told me this is my person. And then 5 years down the line, they break up. So what? Was God the one that told you to go there? Or did God not tell you to go there? I'm a firm believer that, listen, I believe that you're a spiritual individual. I believe that you speaking to God. I believe that you prayed and you were waiting on God to speak to you in a certain way, and you thought that God did speak to you in a certain way, and you went after it. But then now it's gone wrong. Who are you blaming? God. Why? Because God chose your partner, but He didn't choose your partner. So the blame isn't with God, it's with you. The ability to choose. Hence why we have sin and to live righteously. The ability to choose. Okay? And the Bible says, he who findeth a wife, not when God brings a wife to you. No, He said, he who findeth. So there's an opportunity again for action. You have to decide. There's action. Make that choice. Okay? And so mankind has been given that mandate to choose and to decide and to act upon it. Cool. All right. So another question that answers, if God did choose our partners, why in the Bible does it give us instructions who not to marry? When you look at Paul, he says, do not obviously mix with the unyoked. Don't unequally unyoke yourself. And he was talking within a remit of marriage. Okay. So if God is choosing our partners, He ain't choosing an unyoked person. There is no room for mistakes here with God. Because God is perfect, my friend. And there's no room for Him. No. God is a perfect planner. And He's a perfect, I should say, redeemer. Because He gives us wisdom and knowledge to be able to make wise decisions. When we don't make those wise decisions, what God does is then He makes a fallback plan. Or He then redirects the route. A bit like your GPS, right? Or your TomTom. Now, the TomTom told you to go left. Go right, go left, and you will be at your destination in 10 minutes. But you are taking a right, and a right. And it says now you'll be 15 minutes. But it's what? Recalculating the route. And the same, I believe, works with God. I'm not saying God doesn't know all things, but I'm saying God has the ability to let you do what you need to do. As you said, you want to do that. Okay, I've told you go left, but you want to go there. Again, I'm not saying that God doesn't influence our decisions. What I'm saying is this: you have the ability to choose. G for pressure. So now, God has given you that mandate. Again, I'm repeating myself, that dominion to be able to choose and to do what you need to do, because He's been made in His image. Alright? So those instructions like do not be unequally unyoked don't need to be there, fam. Why would you be unequally unyoked? God is choosing. So God is not going to choose an unyoked person. And then that leads to another question, which is that this: someone who gets into a relationship and marriage even with somebody who's an abuser, someone who is a cheater, someone who's an emotional abuser and a physical abuser. I've repeated myself, sorry. But it generally is a bad person in that relationship. Why is God placing you in that relationship? Why is God placing you in a place where you're getting tumped up? I don't understand that. I don't understand why God's placing you in a relationship where you're being cheated upon. I don't understand that. In fact, why is that person even cheating if God chose? Free will. That means, why are we saying that God is definitely influencing that one, but He doesn't influence the person to stop cheating? The person who cheated on you has the ability to choose whether he wants to cheat or not. They have that free will to do so. So therefore, you have a free will to also what? Choose and decide your partner. I mean, there's a little thing that I've got to say. If someone is your soulmate and you only got one soulmate, that means somebody has married somebody who they shouldn't have married and has shagged the whole base. Because that's a knock-on effect. You marry someone you shouldn't have married. That means that person who should have married that person is now locked out. They now have to marry someone else. That person's going to be locked out. Fam, that's long. I believe God can direct you to not direct you to many paths. I think God can guide you and who will be a good partner for you. I believe there are many good partners for you, because many people are, those who are Christians, I believe that many people have the same ideology and attitudes and values. Even within the Christian bracket, there are lots of people who are different. But I'm saying within that bracket of Christianity, there will be somebody who is similar to you. There'll be somebody who is able to work with you. There'll be somebody who is able to do what you want to do. But it won't just be one person, one specific, one individual. God doesn't need to do it anymore. We're not in the Garden of Eden anymore. We're on earth, where people make mistakes, where people are corruptible, where people are listening to their flesh over their spirit. Okay? So, for God to give us instructions, there'll be no point. I mean, if you look at Solomon, he gives many instructions on females. He even says, listen, it's better to live on a rooftop than to live with an argumentative woman. But hold on, if God's choosing, why is he choosing somebody who's not going to listen to you and who wants to be argumentative all the time? No, that's going to stress your life. No knock-on effects that's going to have. So God wouldn't choose a bad partner. That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense for God to choose a really bad partner where you're now living on a rooftop. And Solomon, sorry, you're not really saying Solomon. Proverbs goes on to say about the jealous woman, the woman that's unloved. You know, there's a few of them that he goes on to speak about women who you don't want to really be with. And the thing is, living with a woman in those times was marriage, because you don't go and live with someone just for the sake of living with them. You were getting married, you were getting together. That's why you're living with that person. Remember, it's a different age and time. So for them to say living that woman, an argumentative woman, it's talking about a wife in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So those scriptures there are important, and they tell us a story, which is that God ain't choosing, he's directing, but he's not choosing what you choose to do. God is like a director of a play. Now he's giving you the script. Here's a script. Now you can go off the course of the script. You can add ad-libs. You can add, your own flexy style to it. But at the end of the day, God is the director. You know what I'm saying? He knows how the play should go. The minute details, he's looking after it, but you have the decision-making power in your hand. I'll put some small things here. David in the Bible, he had many wives and concubines, but the one that God actually blessed, that's in his offspring, was Solomon. The one that he said that your son will now be on the throne was Solomon. But if you know the story of David and Solomon, you know that David chose Bethsheba. But you know Bethsheba, where he got her from. He got her from where? He stole her from another man who she was married to, killed that man, took his gal. Okay, and I don't think God is involved in that one. But God blessed the son. That tells me that God didn't shoot, because God, the way God dealt with that issue, he didn't deal with it kindly. Although he blessed it at the end where he made a son come into kingship, he did not take that kindly, because the son that obviously they had originally before Solomon, he said that son will pass on. Yeah, because of the sin. Because of David's unrepentant heart too. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm saying that issues, that tells me then, does God really choose our partner? I mean, you look at Solomon himself, 700 wives, friends, and concubines. Nah, God, have mercy. Are you telling me God is involved with that one? That God said, go and choose 700 wives, 300 concubines, and you go and chop and enjoy. You go and just chop them well. Because what in the end happened? Solomon turned away from God. So God wouldn't have chose that one for him. So our choices, I'm not saying that when we make choices, God is not involved. I'm saying that when we make choices, we have to involve God. We have to involve God. And when we don't, it can go wrong. Oh, it can go wrong. Really, really wrong. I mean, you look at Samson. Samson, who told you to go and marry Delilah? My friend, who told you to go and marry Delilah? Why? You know what I mean? So you look at it. Hosea, Bible says, God said this. Hosea, go and choose a whore. Yeah? But did not specify what girl you should choose. He said, go and choose a whore, but he never specified what girl to go for. So does God choose? He chose a type of girl that he should go after, but did not choose the specific girl that he should go after. Does God really choose our partners? Okay. Like I said, reiterating the point, when people fail in their marriages, does that mean that God chose wrongly? I didn't blame God in the beginning. No, God never told Adam, choose that woman as your wife. He just said, I've got a perfect helper who was meant to help in the garden because he had a job to do. What did he say? It's in Genesis 2. He said, he has put man in the garden to tend to the garden. You get me? You feel me? So, and then Adam opened his mouth to say, Chale, this is the wife. This is the one. This is the one I want. This is the one I'm really loving. This is the one I'm just really blessed. And this is the one that's both. Okay? And when it went wrong, he still decided to blame God. But like I said, I believe that in that particular aspect, it's different from when we're out in the Garden of Eden, because we were imperfection then. Do you know what I'm saying? But hey, that's my thing. That's my personal opinion. And God has given us ability to discern, and has given us ability of wisdom. It's given us wisdom. And the Bible even says that if you lack wisdom, ask for wisdom. So when it comes to choosing a partner, I believe there are many different partners, and you have to think about this. There's a scripture in Solomon, which Samuel, which talks about how what's his name? King Saul sent his daughter Michal to wed David for the purpose of ensnaring him. Now, when she got sent, David was not having it, mate. He didn't really love her, mate. You know what I mean? He weren't really feeling it, mate. Do you know what I mean? And he decided to cut it. Why? Choice. Choice. Do you get me? Choice. So again, you have the wisdom, you have the discernment to choose a correct partner. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying God does not control our daily events and does not influence what we do. But you have the choice. You have the choice. In certain cases, yeah, I believe some people are. I believe sometimes in certain cases, God has just said, listen, that is your partner, you have to choose that one. There's no other way. I believe that some people, I believe that God has called some elect few. Just tell you can't, this is the one. Do you get what I'm saying? But, you know, for the majority of us, tell you that God has said, tell you have free will. Choose correctly, choose wisely. And choose appropriately. And that's the key thing right there. So that's my answer to the question. Does God choose our partners? I'll reiterate, conclude. My personal opinion is that He has an influence and a say on what we do and where we go and who we do choose, but ultimately comes down to where your head at. What is leading you, the spirit or the flesh? And sometimes we get the two confused. And sometimes we get it mixed up. And so we can choose incorrectly. Mad. So some people are happy in second marriages. Does that mean God then chose two wives for that person? Because God didn't choose the first one? No. Your actions within that relationship have dictated to how this relationship has gone. Love is an action. Love is a decision. Love is a choice. So that's me, Sotet. Like I said, Little Black Book, we're back in action. I got many more topics for you, man. Don't worry. I got you covered, man. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all. Deuces. Ugh.